Okay, this is the X-Men series. I've been I've been watching Young Ripper and a few other people talk about the X-Men classic um animated series. And the only contradiction or disagreement I have with especially Young Ripper, because he was the one I saw saying that there's a good deal to be streaming. Well, I understand that streaming is the wave of the future, but in my opinion, as a consumer, you're giving away all of your consumer power. And this is what Young Ripper says that you this is a good way to consume. This is the best because they're competing. Are they? Are they competing? Because it's very difficult to buy um, DVDs and Blu-rays now. They're very expensive. So while they're pricing you out because y'all want to stream and they're pricing you out, making it harder and harder for you to get, aren't you becoming more and more a slave to streaming? When if you have these products in your home, nobody can take them down. Nobody can tell you how to watch them. There's no glitches. There's no constant paying of $6.99, $5.99. I paid about $10 for these each. 9.99, 9.99, 9.99, and I got all 5 seasons. The fifth season is garbage. Well, it's not garbage, but it got really corny then, and I don't even think I've ever watched it. So I'm gonna probably watch it soon because I've been watching it lately and I'm up to season 4. But I was only gonna do this video with 4 and 5, but I said I gotta show y'all that I got all of them. I'm not gonna half step this because y'all have to consume. This is consumer power to own your stuff. Why do you think they got rid of the DVD recordable players, and they never made the Blu-ray recordable players? They don't want you to own. They're taking away your power. So X-Men, a very good classic series. This was not made for children. Again, I disagree with Young Ripper. This was not made for young children because that's why the subject matter was so good. This was made for us guys, people like me in my 50s who grew up on the Phoenix Saga and the X-Men, because that's why they put Jubilee in there in the cartoon, because she wasn't in the original X-Men series. They put her in to appeal to the younger group, but these cartoons were made for those boomers who grew up with collecting those comics. And so that's what I believe. That's what I feel, and I'm always going to say that. And I'm also going to say Stan Lee did use the 60s as a model. He says it practically in one of the videos where they was just posted advice from Jim Lee about making characters and all of that. He was saying how he didn't use that. They did use the times to influence their stories, and this story is a direct correlation to the civil rights movement. Even the name Professor X is a direct shoot. If I was back there in that time and I heard of Malcolm X, I would have, as a creator, later for him being black, later for all of that, the name Malcolm X is like Racer X from Speed Racer. It's a badass name. So if you could correlate and steal from things that's right there in your face, things that work, the connection between, well, not really a connection, but the different sides that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King stood on, until they were killed, and until Malcolm X went to Mecca and realized what he was saying all that time was wrong. And then he came back. Pre-Malcolm X and post-Malcolm X is two different guys. So if you could see how the dynamic of those two guys, it's easy to see that Stan Lee did a good job. It's a great thing that he did, but it is correlated to racism back then, when they was hosing black folks and beating and sicking dogs on it, and blatant racism. This is everything they show in the first season of the X-Men. That's all you see is muties. That's like saying nigga. Everything. He took everything from it. He used Professor X. He used Malcolm X to create Professor X's name, which is a good thing. Like I said, again, if I was there and an adult at the time creating, I would have done the same thing. Shoot, I have X characters now. Not only because of the X-Men, because of Malcolm X, because his name is a badass name, because of the representation that it stands for, and how powerful a person he was, how powerful a character he was. And I'm not talking about a character, I'm talking about his character. He is a powerful individual, both then and now. If you want to look at it, he can be a superhero easily. So yeah, the whole series was great. I love the Dark Phoenix series. I don't agree with how the first 3 movies were made. I really believe that if you want to do the X-Men justice, that you follow this series. Do the Dark Phoenix series. Get a group of young people to play all of these parts. Use quality characters. Don't get all of these pretty people and make it look like a model fest. Do like back in the old days where they got these people who look like they fit the part. Like Wolverine. Yeah, Hugh Jackman was a great person to play Wolverine, but he should have been much shorter. Wolverine is 5 foot and change. He should be short. The size makes a difference. It shows how much more of a ferocious individual he is to be short. That's why the Wolverine is considered such a dangerous creature, because he's so small, but he's willing to go up against bears and tigers and crap, because he's a ferocious individual. These factors help to make Wolverine the badass that he is. Another thing about the X-Men franchise is that when I first came on board with the X-Men, with the comic books, I liked Colossus practically almost the best, and then Wolverine and then the females came afterwards. Even though Aurora was black, I still liked them. I liked Cyclops, but after I started watching the series at a later date when I was much older, like Young Ripper says, you can appreciate it a lot more. I think I was in my 20s, approaching 30s, when this hit the TV. And so when Wolverine started calling him what did they call him? He always called him a goody two shoes, like a Boy Scout or some crap like that. I started hating Cyclops. The cartoon made me dislike Cyclops because I thought he was kind of goody. He was kind of real wrapped up in Jean, and Logan just came in there and practically was bogarting that girl. It was crazy. I cut up his car and did all kinds of crap to him. So it was really good. The dynamic between them is interesting. And so by the time you get to the Hellfire Club and all of that, That's what I'm saying. If you take the time with the movies and just flesh out the characters a little bit more, add a little bit more detail, but try to take it slow. Get as many movies out of as you can, but you should follow practically verbatim the whole story. You should. Otherwise, don't bother with it. If you're gonna cut it, chop it up, and make it into all of these other people, and this is what bothers me, because these people who are making the movies don't really know or care about comic books. They do their research beforehand, but they don't have the love. So whatever they deem to be sufficient, that's enough. But me, Apocalypse is one of the greatest characters to ever be created. And the fact that they keep making him white, even though he was an Egyptian from way back in the ancient Egypt, you know he was a black man. Matter of fact, in the Age of Apocalypse, I think he was drawn as a black man, which I appreciated, because there's no movie anywhere that does Egypt right and gives black people their credit. But anyway, not going on no tangents, but the Apocalypse is one of the greatest characters. They made him just powerful enough. He's not too powerful like Superman, where you figure it might too much. He just has too much power. He can do way too many things. When you start being able to move a planet, who could face that? Who has the strength? I haven't seen anybody else push a planet around. So how can you face that? But Apocalypse is one of my favorites. Wolverine and Apocalypse are my favorite X-Men characters to ever walk the planet. Or a movie or a comic book. So the pages of a comic book. So ownership and the fact that these are quality cartoons made for more adult people who bought the comics and made the stories popular. This is why these I believe these animated series was made, and they should never try to remake it, reboot it. No, but the Japanese did good. I also have that. Maybe I'll do some videos on the X-Men anime, the Iron Man, Blade. I think there was about 5 of them all together. Was Doctor Strange one of them? I know they made a few of them. The X-Men, Blade, Iron Man, and maybe 1 or 2 more. I'm not sure, but I gotta get my collection and find it, because I've been pulling my stuff and not really putting it back where I'm supposed to. But the X-Men series is the greatest superhero animated series to hit the screen, besides the 90s Spider-Man. Young Ripper said that all of those series that they got on there, might be worth it. They're not. Those are more directed for the younger children. And even though Spider-Man in the 90s was also more child-oriented, it had a lot of action. I just got it from eBay earlier in this year, because I couldn't find it anywhere. I have everything in my collection. I do not stream. I am not going to leave my entertainment in the hands of some company. I don't know why people are so ready to trust companies that tell you all the time, take it or leave it. What do you think they're going to do when they have all of these properties owned and you can't buy nothing? Come on, this is the goal. Y'all people can't give up your power, because y'all are stealing my rights, because these things don't last forever. When I was a kid, I could pull out 45s and LPs, long playing records from when I was a kid, throw them on a record player, and they'll still play 50 years later. But all of these things are going to blank out in a number of years, because they don't want you to own nothing. They want to take your rights away from you and make you a slave. I'm telling you, you people better wake up and stop trusting in these things. Use your power. I'm talking about you. You are the only one that holds power. Not anything else. Not no establishment, not no corporation, not no wealthy person. They do, but they held people power. The wealth only supports and magnifies and helps it because they can pay for other people to help unite with them. So we give them our power. There's billions of us in the United States. How come you think that we don't have more power than them? Use your power of consumer. This is as a other consumer. Buy your hard copies. Video games, movies, buy your hard copies. Don't give up your power and collect the X-Men. Don't just stream. Okay, it's good for stream when you out of the state and you don't want to carry your collection with you. Good, you can stream. Buy your $5.99 for the time being, but you got to look at it this way. I got these for like about 10 years now. I've been collecting my X-Men. I think I got the fifth season maybe about 6 years ago because it was difficult for me to find it. That's before I started buying a lot of my stuff from Amazon. So that's when I was going Blockbuster and Best Buy, and there was another place that closed down. All of these places closed down because y'all people are giving away all of your consumer rights. Everybody wants to stream because y'all want to make it easy on yourselves. Y'all don't want to do what it takes to look at this. Season 1, good season, baby. It introduced you to all of the characters. I thought Gambit had a heavy Cajun accent, but again, I came in an older age, not like a young man like Young Ripper did. So I understand what he's talking about, but I loved his accent, Cher, and I loved how they made how what's his name was smart, Mr. McCoy, my boy, the Beast. I loved even Southern Belle Rogue. I love her whole story. I love how she, even though I hear that's different from the comic books, I don't remember the Rogue story. I have to go back. I don't even know if I have that comic where she gets her abilities. I think I remember it being different from the animated series where she steals it from Captain Marvel. I'm not sure if it's the same or not. But I love Jean Grey, even though I love the Phoenix better. I hate the fact that they just keep giving her, again, making her too powerful. Jean Grey was not that powerful. She was all right as a psychic, but she didn't. So to make a movie and then give her all of these outrageous abilities and able to disintegrate people and all of that, and just negate the fact that the Phoenix was a cosmic entity that possessed her, I think it robbed us of the opportunity to really see how much females had to contribute to these stories. Y'all make it way too easy. So I'm not trying to say no SJW crap, no, but I can understand where some of their stories are getting cut out, because if they followed these stories the way that they were meant to be, the way that Chris Claremont wrote them, y'all wouldn't be doing this. If you was a true fan making these movies, that's why I understand what Mr. Miller said when he was making Sin City and The Spirit in them. You need to have a comic book creator making these movies. Y'all are using the wrong people for these movies, and it's turning all of the properties into flash in the pans or child, because everybody says or believes that these stories were made for children, and I highly disagree. I believe that once upon a time, when Batman and Superman were made, maybe back then they were made for children, but when the war hit and those young men over there needed something to occupy their minds when they was in between battles and stuff like that, and they needed some reminder from back home, these stories had all kinds of pretty women, bombshells, all kinds of stories. They had stories with Asians being portrayed all wild, and I don't know what you people like, and y'all like to throw away media just because it's old and have outdated ideologies in them, but I would like to see some of those old, just like the Eisner Award. Everybody complains about cutting people off of this and cutting people off of that because of their racism, but that dude Eisner was a racist. He drew coons in his comic book. What is that detective dude? One of his sidekicks was a coon with the big old bubble lips and everything. But his name is all over and I'm not suggesting to take it down. I'm not. Because I don't really care. I doubt if I would ever get one after I finish making my book. But if I were, I still would try and appreciate it that they gave me the award, considering my book was good enough to be considered for one. Even though I don't really, as long as people enjoy my shit and enjoy my stuff and are willing to buy it, man, I would be happy enough like that. That's enough reward for me. But having a property turned into a cartoon or a TV show and shown the respect that the X-Men animated series showed the comic books, I think it did a really good job sticking to the topic or sticking to the source material. Like I was just trying to remember what Young Ripper and everybody else says, so I'm on board. But sticking to the source material, I hated X-Men Apocalypse. They destroyed Apocalypse. One of my favorite characters ever. They destroyed him. They made him this little tiny dude because he's from, I guess, from the Middle East. They determined him. No. Make Apocalypse who he was supposed to be, a big ass black dude. They should have got some big black wrestler or some football player to play that part and put him in a genuine Apocalypse outfit. That should have been like Apocalypse story alone should have been a trilogy, because with him creating his four men of the apocalypse, his horsemen, and wanting to destroy the world, that should have been more drawn out and allowed you to feel that story. So I loved the beginning parts where he comes in and they're battling the four horsemen. I think was it in Egypt, or was it just some monument where there was pyramids or somewhere there? I haven't watched the first season in a while. Like, it's just taken me a few months because I've been watching other things like The Omen. I'm gonna do a review of that. The old Omen, not that. I bought the collection. The collection was great because it came with the Liev Schreiber version, but it didn't come with Omen 4. And I was looking up to see what Omen 4 was called, and I said, oh, wasn't it called The Awakening? And it was. But I was getting confused because also Species 4 was called The Awakening, so I was like, no, I might be wrong. Maybe that was Species, and then when I looked it up, they was both called The Awakening. So getting back, I'm going to be making some videos about that, Blade Runner, and some old gangster movies from back in the day, Angels with Dirty Faces with James Cagney, trying to show you people that you don't have to be black to enjoy all white programming, even if they're so-called outdated. When I was coming up in the 60s and 70s, Angels with Dirty Faces and old religious movies like The Song of Bernadette, which is a great movie, even though it's a heavily religious topic, but it's more about people and how these people who's supposed to have these high religious values treat people just because they don't want to believe in certain things. At the end of that movie, I practically bawled like a baby. And I'm talking to you about power and all of these things, but I'm confident of who I am. But these movies are movies that move me. These are the movies that drives me, because I know I could tell a meaningful story, because I've been brought up on the Ten Commandments. I let my nephew borrow that movie, and he liked it. And there was hardly any real action in it as far as fighting each other, but it was all so dramatic and thought-provoking that it keeps you wanting to see more. And it's like a 3-hour-long movie. The one with Charlton Heston, who's a racist, but I'm not going to let that stop me from enjoying something that helped me to become the person I am today, even though I'm no longer part of the Catholic faith and don't believe in that stuff anymore. I still watch all of those old movies. I just got finished buying Samson and Delilah and Spartacus and all of those old joints. So don't give up your power. Consume. Buy your products. And get at me. Do what you YouTube do, and comment, share, subscribe, do everything. Help me get my channel bigger than what it is, and big ups to me and big ups to you, and I'm trying my best to get my story on the move. So I put together some nice arcs, and I'm trying to connect all of them so that they weave together like a 24 story. I don't want it to be that tightly written like every hour on the hour, but I want it to have a great pace and that type of movement like an Alias, how they kept this pace, and you're always thinking what's coming next, and 2 and 3 things happening at one time, subplots and counterplots and all of these plots working together. I love that stuff, and if I could pull all of that off, I'm telling you, y'all gonna have a great story with some great new characters and abilities that you've never seen before, or some old abilities that you've never seen used in the way I choose to use them. So do all of your thing, keep getting back at me, and I'm gonna keep getting at y'all, and I'm out.